Civil Rights Department of Education. In this complaint, we request that the US government initiate a civil rights violation investigation into Harvard University's discriminatory admission process and require Harvard and other Ivy League schools to stop their practice, discriminative practice, including using racial stereotypes, racially differentiated standard, racial quotas, and other illegal means. The facts are compelling. In recent decades, millions of Asians immigrated into the US to support the high-tech industry. Most are well-educated. As a result, the college-age students, applicants, grew from 3% in 1990 to 5.1 in 2011, almost doubled. In the meantime, our academic performance of these students also improved. In 1980s, the Intel Science Talent Search, the number of Asian students was about 24%. By 2010, it jumped to 64%. This is STEM education. If we take an all-rounded evaluation, the most important category is presidential scholar. That is evaluated by the test scores, personal qualities, leadership, community services. Asian American applicant, high school graduates, in last 5 years, we counted for 20 to 31% or more. After hearing above numbers, you would be thinking our Asian American enrollment in Ivy League schools should grow at least match our population growth, right? Number is growing, performance is growing. However, the story that happened in some elite universities, which is, the race is not a fact, like California Institute of Technology. But in Ivy Leagues, the story is different. Over the last 20 years, as Ron Unz put it, the share of Asians at Harvard peaked above 20% in 1993. Then immediate decline, and thereafter remain roughly at 3 or 5% less. If we look at the relative enrollment, the ratio of Asian American actually dropped over the half. This is an indication of de facto quota system, which was banned by the US Supreme Court in 1978. In 2007, Daniel Gordon found the discrimination against Asian Americans was so severe. In his book, The Price of Admission, he dedicated one chapter called The New Jews, compared it with what the Jewish Americans suffered in the early 20th century. He also gave a lot of qualitative examples how the stereotype being used by Ivy League schools to say Asians are too quiet, only focus on science, technology. And in his book, he said, most elite universities have maintained a triple standard for in-college admissions, setting the bar highest for Asians, next for whites, and lowest for blacks and Hispanics. In 2009, Princeton professor Thomas Espenshade revealed Asian Americans have the lowest acceptance rates in each SAT school brackets. Asians have to score on average 140 points more than the white, 270 points higher than the Hispanic, and 450 higher than black students on SAT. In 2014, UCLA professor Richard Sand concluded, in compared with applicants, Asian Americans are the most underrepresented racial group in this country. This is our study. In Asian communities, we also saw these similar unjustified trends. Many Asian American students have almost perfect SAT scores, leadership, volunteers, like Michael Wang had, okay, he's here. but frequently been rejected by Harvard, by other Ivy League schools. That we heard a lot of stories and a lot of publication in Asian American web blogs. It was pointed out Asian American applicants are the most discriminated because suppose the affirmative actions do not favor white students either, but Asian Americans suffer the most. That's something to do with the racial code. Also, probably something to do with like a racial bias in this country. For using like Ivy League schools tend to use a very subjective, holistic evaluation approach, and without acknowledging the diverse background of Asians, they tend to treat Asian American applicants as a monolithic block, and denigrate them as lack of creativity, lack of risk-taking, lack of leadership skill. But the facts all prove they are wrong. With only 6% of US population, we have contributed to 12 Nobel Prize winners, many top scientists, innovators, artists, designers. Between 2006 and 2012, 42% of technology startups are funded by Asian Americans. Every startup needs creativity, needs risk-taking, needs leadership. The discrimination by Harvard and by other Ivy League schools have caused tremendous harm to Asian American communities. All children have to study very hard, and as Ron Ernst put it, when far greater volume applicants is squeezed into a pipeline of fixed size, the pressure can grow enormously. That leads to stress, mental health issues, lack of trust of American institutions, self-identification crisis, and a fortification of racial barrier. I give you one example. My son frequently tutoring kids from other racial group. But when I tell him, as Asian American, you have to work hard. Other people have higher preference than you. It's a difficult story to tell. So all children feel that being Asian American, they are somewhat less American. That's a sad story. These discriminations are clear violation of Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the 14th Amendment of the US Constitution. Specifically, number 1, intentionally discrimination against Asian Americans. Number 2, racial rebalancing or de facto racial quota. Number 3, using race beyond what just a plus fact as defined relevant Supreme Court rulings. So it is one of the largest civil rights issues Asian Americans are facing with today. Historically, Chinese American and Japanese American has been a victim of racial discrimination. But shockingly, today, America's elite universities are still violating the civil rights of Asian American applicants on a continuous and a systematic basis without little or no governmental interventions. The discrimination have led to widespread grievance in Asian American community. We announced this initiative in mid-February. Within 3 months, we had more than 60 organizations support, as Chunye mentioned, all over the country, across different racial groups. So today, Asian American community have spoken and joined this complaint. This is the largest action jointly taken by Asian Americans for equal education right in 20 years. As we recall, in May 2014, President Obama made a promise to Asian Americans, quote, "Let us ensure the laws respect everyone. Civil rights apply to everyone, and everyone who works hard and play by the rules have a chance to get ahead." Our answer is, Asian Americans are the ones who work hard and play by the rules. We deserve a chance, equal chance to get ahead. Here, we formally request Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Secretary Arne Duncan, please help us stop these discriminations. Don't let our children to be treated as second-class citizens. Finally, we want to make it clear the complaint we filed today is not only about the civil rights of Asian Americans, but also about the future of America. Most Asians immigrate to America because she offers equal opportunity to all, regardless of their racial background. America should not depart from this indispensable principle that attract talents all over the world, who help build America into the greatest nation on earth. Asian Americans have been contributing to education progress of America. And we care about the disadvantaged education in disadvantaged communities. Some Asian Americans, including myself, have shared education experience with other races. And here, Ying Sun, her organization annually participate a group organization in Houston, annually pick one school in disadvantaged communities. They raise the fund to buy the school supply for them whole year. Last year, they helped 1,720 poor students. This is what American education policy should be. We should treat all students the same based on merit, and jointly help the poor, regardless of their racial background. Only in this way can we build a racially harmonized society and advance American education. Thank you for your attention.